Hi everyone, this is Jed Shlackman. In this video I want to speak somewhat about archetypes and also about using card decks for healing and personal growth. Many of you are familiar with different types of cards like tarot cards or oracle cards or angel cards, and there's a variety of sets of cards out there, different decks that in a fundamental way kind of all serve the same purpose or all function in a similar manner, and that each card presents some type of archetypal issue or pattern that really all of us can relate to in some way. So they're universal in that sense, and that's what archetypes are. They're these universal kind of basic patterns, basic imprints, parts of our existence that anyone could relate to. So it could be a particular relationship, could be a particular role that you have in life, it could be certain energetic qualities or characteristics. So these are all things that we're all encountering at various times in our life experience. When people work with card decks intuitively, they're being guided to pick a card that's kind of the most significant or relevant for the person at that particular time. So you could say there's a synchronicity that's involved in working with cards. However, even if you're not doing it in that more intuitive type of way, you could actually find something of value in any card, something that you could look at or reflect upon in your own life and see where you could find some guidance in addressing a particular issue or understanding some part of yourself, of your own nature better. So let's look at a few different decks here just to give us some examples of how this might work. And the first one I'll be exploring is archetype cards. This is a deck that's developed with the guidance of Carolyn Mace. Carolyn is the well-known author of Anatomy of the Spirit. So this is her card deck. And you could shuffle the cards, move them around so you're picking randomly if you like. So let's just randomly take the first three cards from this deck and see what they share or present to us. Okay, here's the first one. I'll show you the card. So this is Destroyer. And on these cards, for each of the archetypes, she presents what she refers to as light attributes and shadow attributes. So any particular archetype isn't really inherently positive or negative. It can have both light or positive and shadow or negative aspects depending on how it's being expressed in our lives. So it says their light attributes for Destroyer are releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for new life, and the shadow attributes are intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. So just with this one particular card, we could reflect on our own life. We could consider what is it that we could be releasing in our own life that's been destructive, and doing that to make space for preparing something that's new and productive in our life. We could also consider that shadow side she referred to, where we've kind of connected to that destroyer that's destructive to the world around us. So we use our power in a destructive way, causing harm or hurt to others. And we've all done that in some way at some time in our lives. So we can have this kind of open, honest inquiry within ourselves without judging or condemning ourselves, just expanding our self-awareness, which opens the door to self-improvement or self-transformation. So that was the first card. Let's look at the second card. This card is the dilettante. And again, we have the light and shadow attributes. So the light attributes is delights in the arts without having to be a professional, alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. So there are people that kind of jump from one thing to another. They'll dabble in just about anything without really taking the time or putting in effort to develop much skill or much quality or depth with it. The shadow attribute is pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. So there you're kind of being dishonest with yourself and others about your degree of skill or mastery. So we could look at our own life and consider what are some things we just kind of briefly explored or dabbled with. What things do we do just sort of for fun, not with a lot of seriousness or desire to become a professional or expert at it. And to some extent that could be valuable to explore a variety of things in your life, right? So to have some diversity in your life, that's something that's often healthy, but we can also spread ourselves too thin, where we're trying everything just a little bit and never really developing much depth with anything. And we also want to acknowledge when we are just sort of a beginner or amateur, rather than pretending to be more knowledgeable or skilled than we actually are. So those are some issues that are present in all of our lives, and we could all look at that and have more self-awareness. Let's go to the third card, and this one is the alchemist. The light attribute is transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. And there's a shadow attribute, which is the misuse of power and knowledge that would come through spiritual practice. So as those seeking some form of spiritual skill or mastery, it can be used for your own evolution, for becoming more whole, more harmonized, and also of service to others. But there are those who abuse the power that comes from spiritual growth or spiritual development, and they end up causing some form of harm, something dysfunctional as a result of doing that. So if you are an alchemist working with the elements, with spirituality, you can consider each of these issues because we all confront them. It's part of the journey for each of us. So those were some pretty interesting archetypes that we could all look at. And that was just from this one deck from the Archetype cards from Carolyn Mace. Let's look at another deck. This one is called the Evolution cards, helping you evolve one step at a time. So let's look at these. And on the Evolution cards, each card has a question for us. So one side it has a question, and then the other side it just has the quality or the archetypal quality or characteristic that we would be considering. So let's shuffle them. And we'll take the first 3 cards again. Okay, this time our first card is action. The bridge between wanting and having is action. The question to ask yourself here is, what steps will I take today to change wanting into having? So this is an issue for all of us, of course. When do we need to take action? Sometimes in life we need to pause and slow down and be more patient with things and reflect on things, and other times it's important to put some energy out there to take action to get things flowing. The next card is achieve. To achieve, all you need to do is set a realistic goal and make progress toward it each day. There is a question: how will I take a step toward my goal today? So we're all pursuing achievement in our lives, whether it's a very small, simple goal or something more complex, more immense that we want to achieve. This is something we can all reflect upon. And the next card is abundance. Accepting that there is an abundance of everything means there is plenty for you. The question is, how will I create more abundance today? Believe in abundance. So abundance is something that we often forget, or we start developing limiting beliefs about it. Sometimes we trust that the universe is abundant and it will provide just what we need at just the time it's needed. Other times we start believing in scarcity, believing that there's not enough, that we're in competition with others for things in life. So this is something we all deal with. It's an issue we all confront. So these could be looked at as archetypes as well, in the sense that they're qualities or themes or characteristics that are universal. Let's take a look at another deck. This one is the Affirmators deck. Affirmation cards. So many of you are familiar with affirmations. Affirmations are statements stated in the positive, designed to help us build or develop positive beliefs. So we'll look at the Affirmators cards and see what archetypal issues or concerns they may present for us. We're shuffling. Okay, so we'll take the first 3 cards here. And let's look at the first one. And just so you'll see what the cards look like, they all have the same image on the front, the unicorn, and then the back, which has the affirmation. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this one clearly, but the affirmation is about vitality. It says, "I am healthy and vital and strong. My radiant love of life fills me with healthy, vital, and strong cells. Each cell is a warrior. Everyone has its own sword and shield. I dare you to try and penetrate my cellular army. Didn't think so, chump. So it's being kind of amusing, and it shows pictures of those cells like a warrior with a shield and a sword. So this might be a valuable affirmation for a person that's dealing with some type of physical health challenge, if their immune system is disturbed, if they have autoimmune illness or cancer or things like that, to build up the strength of their cells, the vital force. And you could look at this as an archetypal issue for all of us, to have vitality, to really be fully present in our strength in life, to stand up for ourselves, right? So if you picture someone with a sword and a shield, they're fighting for something, right? For their own well-being, for their country, whatever it might be. So they're exerting their strength and power. And there are times in life where we need to stand up and stick up for ourselves. So that's an archetypal issue that this card would bring to our awareness. And here's our next affirmation. This one is about ups and downs. And it states, I see life as an incredible ride, and I'm lucky to be on it. Yes, the ups and downs make me want to puke sometimes, but they're also what make things fun and interesting. And when you look back, even puking on yourself makes for a good story. So that's a cute way of looking at things. Of course, life has ups and downs, times that we relish and times that we feel sickened by, in a literal sense sometimes. But even with that, we can see there's a silver lining there. Those things could be stories that we're able to relate later and kind of laugh about, or provide to other people to help them feel that we can understand them or have compassion for them, because we've been through something pretty challenging too. And this is something that we can all in some way relate to. So again, it's a universal theme or archetype. And the last one I picked here is ultimate potential. I choose to live a life of my fullest potential. You can see that there. I trust that this will draw me towards experiences and people that support my growth and accomplishment. Tuning into this frequency, I now reach higher heights than I ever thought possible. Knowing that's an option, why would I have ever tuned into anything else? I'm looking at you, smooth jazz and talk radio. That's what it actually says there at the end. So ultimate potential is something that we're all connected to. So that's another universal theme, the idea of accessing more of our potential. I hope that these cards have given each of you some things to think about and provided some good examples of archetypal themes in life, things that are universal that we all relate to, and to understand how this can be used in a personal growth practice or healing practice. Cards like tarot cards or archetype cards or these affirmations, and there's a couple other decks I'll show you. These aren't just for giving someone a psychic reading or trying to predict their future or things like that. They're really primarily for working with these themes in our life and to guide us toward growth and wholeness. So let's take a look at a couple other decks. Here's a deck called the Inner Wise deck from Dr. Uwe Albrecht. Inner Wise, the Complete Healing System. And on this one, the card deck includes different healing remedies, you could say. So it includes Bach flower remedies, crystals, plants and animals, colors, minerals, sounds of celestial bodies, archangels, and homeopathic remedies. So that sounds pretty interesting. And that can remind us that all of those different healing tools or elements that people work with, whether it's crystals or plants or aromas, each of those is in some way reflecting certain archetypal qualities. So if you think about crystals and stones having different qualities, those are the mineral kingdom providing a physical vibration or manifestation of these archetypal themes that exist in human life. And let's look at one more deck. And this is the Psychic Tarot deck. And that's the one developed with John Holland. And he's a well-known medium. So this is considered an oracle deck. And it has a variety of archetypal themes in it too. So you can find a deck that you kind of enjoy or resonate with, and you could use it as part of your own personal growth practice, giving yourself frequent reminders of things that you can reflect on and areas that you can transform yourself in. So I'd like to now thank each of you for taking your time to view this particular video. I also invite everyone to watch some other videos I share on similar topics, on holistic wellness, on personal growth and spirituality. You can visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com, to find more resources and get information on the private and group healing sessions that I share both in person and online. I'd like to wish you each a wonderful day. Namaste.